We're gonna have a look at now the History Unit 1, Paper 1 for the year 2017. Which of the following statements most accurately characterizes the religion of the Taínos or the Kalinagos? Right, so let's look at this. Most accurately does it. So they were religious people. They didn't build in those stone temples. They did have a clearly articulated concept of God. So tobacco smoking formed a part of the religious ritual. I think that would be best. 2. Which of the following descriptions is false for the Aztec, Inca, and Maya people? That they lacked well-organized governments. That is false, right? We could speak about the fact that you would have the different social groups, the Alakonik, right, and the Polms and those type of persons within Mayan society, and divided into different city-states. The Aztecs had the Altepetl, right, and the different person, and the Altepetl and the different rulerships, right, in the Chinampa. Chinampas is the floating garden, right? But they had different sections, and then in the Inca Empire, you had it dividing into the 4 quarters, Tiwan, Tinsuyu, all being ruled by different governors. So we have to note that, right? So 3, the archaeological excavation along Zone Meadows provides evidence of the precise location. Anything with Vinland would be wrong, and it's not in Greenland, so it should be the existence of the Viking settlement in Newfoundland. 4. Which of the following situations provides evidence of contact between Europeans and West Africans during the 15th century? This would be the Portuguese arrival at Elmina, right? Which of the following terms refers to the traditional stories of the Norse history? This would be the sagas. In which of century did the Portuguese first trade with Africa? It would be the 15th century. The main factor that led to the contact between Africa and Europe up to the 1450, this would be, let me see, desire to break the Muslim monopoly, right? The Spanish expedition to Mexico was mainly in search of was it new sources of wealth? The 9, the main purpose of the income system introduced by the Spanish was to provide a pool of labor for the Spaniards. 10. Which of the following was not an effect of Spanish settlement in the New World? Not an effect. Introduction. Oxygenation of the population. I don't think it'd be mechanization within tobacco industry. 11. Which of the following systems forced indigenous people to labor for the Spanish settlers in exchange for conversion to Christianity? This would be, in this case, would be the repartimiento. Right? What was the main consequence of Spanish settlement on the indigenous populations of Hispaniola? Right, so the main consequence would have been decimation. Between 1510 and 1540, the campaign to halt the decimation of the indigenous people was led by whom? Right, it would be Dominican friars. Cortez's military campaign in Central America between 1519 and 1521 was successful mainly due to possess guns and horses, Spanish forces outnumbered those of the indigenous. No. He acquired guides, or what would it have been here? Would he have found La Malinche at that time? Probably. We could state the probably. If you have a different answer, please tell me for 14. 15. The main strategy used by Montezuma to convert Cortez's advancement to Tenochtitlan, right, was offering tribute to the Spanish. He tried because he thought he was Quetzalcoatl coming, so he thought that if he offered tribute, they would stop, right, and they would be appeased, right? Just note, guys, right? If there are any issues with any answer I put, right? Note that you can just drop a comment in the comment section telling me which question it was and what answer you think should be there and giving me an explanation why. Right, so that should be good. 16. Chattel slavery can best be defined as hold on. Chattel slavery. Use of Africans as laborers. Okay, mass importation, acceptance of labor without paying wages. Forced servitude of persons, their owners for a lifetime. I think that would be the best one there. Which of the following factors best accounts for the European preference for Africans as chattel slaves in the 17th century? I don't think so. Africans were ideally suited for labor in the tropics. Enslaved Africans could be converted to Christianity, and there were already established forms of human bondage in Africa. This would have been in the 17th century. Alright. In the 17th century, the 1600s. Best accounts for European preference for Africa. That was used to justify it, not really the preference. Probably they were ideally suited for the labor in the tropics. 18. The mortality of pregnant enslaved females on Caribbean plantations was largely due to self-induced abortions. But the inadequate health care, though. Inadequate health care would probably be the overall. Alright, so largely due to self-induced abortions. Alright, so the gender. Okay, I think it would probably be inadequate health care because I think that would relate to self-induced abortions. But please reach out to me in the comment section if there's an issue with that. The gender blind policies on the sugar plantations in the Caribbean were implemented only for work in the fields, right? Field-based tasks. 20. National independence in Haiti in 1804 was declared by Jean-Jacques Dessalines. The seasoning of newly enslaved Africans took place during the first month of the estate. The West Indian planters gave provision ground to the enslaved mainly to decrease planters' food expenses. Which of the following factors best explains the success of the Haitian Revolution? Alright, success of the Haitian Revolution. This would have probably been done due to the Haiti warfare here. Well, the Haiti terrain and interior and facilitated by guerrilla warfare. Alright. Between 1750 and 1830, the decline in the enslaved populations in the French colonies was due to the fact that the mortality rate of the French colonies increased. French territories moved towards. Let me see, what was this? Mechanization. French lost. Okay, would probably be due to the French loss of Saint-Domingue. The Haitian Revolution was fought mainly for free. Well, enslaved wanted to be free. 26. Which of the following was one of the British amelioration proposals? Alright, so seeing that enslaved children under 6 years would be freed immediately. Alright, families should not be separated. Okay. Masters were responsible. Received small wages. I don't think that would make sense. Alright, so a part of amelioration. Let me see. Amelioration came in. Alright. I think that this is a tricky one, but I may think C, but maybe A. Please tell me in the chat. Maroons were a serious threat to the plantocracy because they were known for they served as a constant reminder of successful resistance to slavery. 28. The claim that the reduction in profits, right, from the sugar industry led to the ending of slavery is referred to as decline thesis. Eric Williams' decline thesis, right? The most accurate interpretation of the Mansfield judgment was that he recognized that enslavement was unlawful in Britain. Which of the following islands opted for immediate emancipation in 1834? In 1834, who opted for immediate emancipation in 1834? This may be St. Kitts, I believe. Antigua is still a dependency. I don't think Grenada got it in 1834. And Montserrat is still a dependency of the French, so I think St. Kitts. 31. Which of the most popular occupation of formerly enslaved women were hucksters? Which of the following factors was a consequence of emancipation in the British colonies? Increased export of sugar? No. Absent? Former enslaved became involved in it? No, they did it before. Alright. They have to be shared between. Labor of freed people had to be shared between plantation and. Because freed people. I think so. 33. The main factor that attracted peasants to the free villages was the independence and self that they afforded them. The metayard system was a partnership in which the planter provided the land and profits were shared with the peasants and planter. Alright? Yeah, that makes sense. So profits were shared between peasants and planter. Indian immigrants came to the Caribbean in the 19th century for higher wages, to prevent death in their homeland, and escape poverty and famine, all of them. The social institution in the British Caribbean in the 1930s was likened to a pot left on the stove simmering. At times the heat was raised, at times even lowered, but the pot was never removed from the stove. It was bound to boil over. So this spoke to the 1930s disturbances. And this could be to the state and health among the poor in the Caribbean. The creation of a just society in Haiti was hindered by the forced labor on plantations. One of the policies of the Cuban government towards the Caribbean and Latin America during the 1960s and 1970s was to help third world nations achieve liberation. Which of the following statements describes associated statehood in the British colonies? Right? So none of the colonies were in charge of their internal affairs, but British was in charge of their foreign affairs. During the first 2 years of the Cuban Revolution, the strategies and our ideologies practiced by Fidel Castro was nationalism and collectivism. By the 1970s, the major advances in Cuba, right? This was in health and education, right? France's colonial possessions voted to become dependencies of France rather than pursue political independence after the Second World War because of, right? France promised to, the local black majority showed no, we're not, while France was not willing to grant France promised to introduce more equitable forms of government. I think this is nice. I think this would be nice based off of the welfare provided by the French government, but I'm not sure what would be the best answer here. If you have one, you can of course put it in the chat. Which of the following Jamaican political leaders was considered the father of independence? Alexander Bustamante. In a French overseas department, the prefect's responsibility, right, was controlling internal security, regulating official documents, representing the state of France, or functioning independently. Alright. So in the DOMs, right, in the DOMs, what we have here, the role of the prefect. If I could remember the role of the prefect, right? The prefect, the French overseas. The role of the prefect in the French overseas department, wasn't it? It was like a governor, right? He was representing each member of government, right? So a representative of the state, I would believe. So representing the state of France, right? Which of the following territories was not an overseas department of France? Haiti, right? So that was the end of the, let me see the paper. That was the paper. This was 2017 of History Unit 1, right? And this was it, paper 1.